People used to call us thinking tinting meant a sign shop. Glass that completely changes color depending on your mood, so I can control the color of the film myself. Hello, I'm Choi Yoon-suk. Today's topic is the past, present, and future of window film. Let's talk about why things are the way they are today. As I've spent more time working here, I've become really curious about previous generations of film and their history. Even though I work at Glasstint, there are things I've wondered about from a consumer's point of view. So today, I'd like to ask some questions. The old tinting environment and market must have been very different from today. Today, there are so many brands and so many different products spread across Korea. When you first started installing film in 1994, were there many window film brands back then? There weren't many. Back then, tinting just meant making the glass dark. And we used to get questions like this at the tint shop. Is this a sign shop? It was a time when people would cut out letters and stick them onto signs. People used to call us thinking tinting meant a sign shop. Also, when doing tinting, there was no real concept of a brand. People would just say, add some color, or make it dark. That was the idea. So back then, unlike today, there was no idea of a specific film from a specific brand at all. There was no such concept. It was just, put film on it, and that's it. Terms like heat rejection didn't even come up. I think someone who ran a tint shop needs to have a clear reason to create a brand. Back then, we received films from the US through a Korean distributor and used those. But as I kept doing it, I became more ambitious. Things like, something is wrong with this, or areas for improvement. There was no way to give feedback on those things, and even if we did, it wouldn't matter. I started raising questions about that. Why do we have to use only the films provided by the US? This color is wrong. This performance, this part is wrong. If I design and launch a lineup myself, products with various characteristics could be created. So why should we only sell the films we are given? That was what I thought. And as I turned those thoughts into action, 5, 10, and 15 years passed. But looking back now, I'm really glad we did it. Do older American brand films have any specific characteristics? They do. If you look at the products from Glasstint today, there are quite a few films that are unique to Glasstint. American films have their own distinctive color. The reason is the deep dyed process. That process is patented. It is patented, and during production, polyester film is brought in and dipped into dye, then taken out. Then the transparent base film turns into a dyed base film with its own color. The US holds that patent. This is something I felt when I used an American brand film before. At first, it seemed fine. But while driving and using it, sometimes when I looked from the inside, it had a reddish feel. That was one of the reasons I changed the film. It felt a little uncomfortable. You can think of it as the base film having color from birth, a film made only with dye, without carbon treatment. In English, it is called dyed film, because they tried to do something on top of an already dyed base. Color arrangement was not possible. Old American films used to promote that as a strength, but that became a weakness. The color expression is already fixed. It is either graphite or charcoal. For films from the US, graphite has a reddish tone, a reddish color. I showed this in a previous video as well, but consumers who had been installing and receiving those reddish films for 30 years still didn't know. If that film had continued dominating the Korean market, they still wouldn't know. But after films that look black from the inside came out, people started asking, why is the color so red? This looks a little yellow, or this looks brown. It has only been about 5 years since people started saying that. I don't want to install this red-looking film. Comments like that have become a trend in the US over the past few years. When I visited shops, they would say from the start, this film has a slight reddish tone, to prevent complaints. That is how they sold that brand. Because the color itself was not originally a complaint, but it turned into one. With certain US companies, a film like Glasstint's Rainy Blue could never be made. The base film color is already fixed. That is one of the differences. Because ceramic film allows all kinds of applications, with just ceramic film alone, the market will be reshaped going forward. It will take up more market share. In the US, they will all have no choice but to follow this production method. In that sense, ceramic films have very high potential for development. No one knows exactly how the future will change. But looking at the potential based on current trends, the films being produced these days are continuously updated versions. So I think ceramic-based films and technologies will receive more attention. I think they may be better than the previous methods. I sometimes think about this. As you said, window film itself makes me wonder how it will change in the future. Right now, the format is to apply film to transparent glass. But I think it will continue to change in many different ways. From your perspective, how do you think the future of tinting will change? Depending on how technology develops. The moment I think, I want to see bright sunlight. Depending on my mood, the dark film could instantly become bright. My mind, my mood, my thoughts, my words. A film that changes, according to spoken words, may come out someday. At night, a 20% shade could change to 30 or 40%. If that kind of applicable item is combined with film, I would like to try producing it myself. One thing I have thought about is something like ambient light. Sometimes black glass, sometimes blue glass. Glass that completely changes color depending on your mood, so I can control the color of the film myself. Like LED lights, you could rotate the colors, turning pink, then blue. I do think something like that could happen someday. So today, we talked about films of the past, present, and future. That was our conversation today. I hope today's video helped you understand that films made in the past, films made 10 years ago, and films made today are different. That was the reason we shared this conversation today. If you have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. We will answer them through a video or in the comments. That is it for today's video. We'll be back with another good video. Thank you.